All right, yeah, that's how long it takes us to finish some good food, some good Italian food, by the way. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and while we were eating, we decided that we're gonna learn some more about cryptocurrency and get back to you guys in the future because it's just something that we don't know much about.
No.
Yeah, but we did start a nice conversation about the NFL, which we're gonna continue now.
Oh, goodness.
So, what we were talking about is like what each team has to improve, and then we'll get into like all of the teams and like what we think they need in order to improve, as well as like which teams are going to do well this year, and if there's a value bet, what should you guys take?
Sure.
So I guess we'll start with our very own New York Giants. Yeah, and what do they need? I think they just got a new GM, right?
Yes. Last I read, David Gettleman, who was released by the Panthers.
That's right.
In the middle of this season, I believe, or maybe after week 5, something like that.
A franchise that they're selling, by the way. By the way, shout out to my other vlog with the walk-ons. That's right. Have to shout out Lee and Mr. Jones. We do it right, but listen, I got to talk about what I want to talk about. So, try.
Don't get too jealous.
That's how I do. All right. So going back, the Giants, right?
The Giants.
Right. So they got a new GM. This guy from Carolina. Do you know anything about him outside of that?
He used to be with the organization, I think, from 2009 to 2012, something like that.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people think that it's a stable move for the Giants, bringing somebody that's familiar with the organization and, who was kind of let go by the Panthers, and nobody can really understand still that move. I'm not too familiar with him realistically, but...
I mean, has he cut Eli Apple yet? That's the real question in this whole thing. I mean, that's really the cancer of the organization.
Anybody would have to do their due diligence and see if they can at least get, some deflated footballs in a trade for it.
Exactly, right. Can we get a book of matches for Eli Apple? That's really the question of the organization. No, but really, they're going to get a second overall pick, right? Barring like some sort of miracle. Are they, or I don't even know if a miracle is possible, to be honest, but
I think only the Colts are in contention with them.
Yeah,
at 3-12.
Yeah, so I guess if the Giants win, the Colts lose, they'd have the same record, and then I don't know what the tiebreaker is for the pick, but maybe it's the alphabetical name.
I would say the Giants deserve it.
Yeah, that's
because they're worse teams because the Colts didn't have Andrew Luck, so their wins are a lot more, or their losses a lot more explainable.
Yeah.
So it was
But you got to think that they're taking quarterback, right? That's too.
At this point, Eli hasn't really shown me anything to have any sort of faith in his abilities moving forward. He might have another year or two as a bridge to the next talent. Webb.
Yeah, forget about him.
Hopefully we'll see some of his action on Sunday. But again, against the Washington Redskins team that isn't really playing for anything.
What about this Mayfield guy from Oklahoma? You think that that would be a good pick, or is he like another Johnny Manziel? Do you think like this kid is going to do anything? Like, I know he's going to be playing soon, so it'll be an easier question to answer once he plays in those big time games that for the national championship.
Right.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I think it's too early to look at the draft.
Okay.
Free agency happens at the draft before the draft
right.
too, which I think is absolutely terrible. Right?
Yeah.
There was no reason whatsoever for the Saints to sign EP. If they had drafted Kamara before free agency,
it's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Him. And
Kamara might be the MVP of this league, right?
I don't know if he'll necessarily win MVP.
I mean,
but Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year is locked in, right?
For sure.
Well, Kareem Hunt.
But Kareem Hunt's faded over he's had a couple of games over the last 6 weeks, like maybe 2 where he's had much productivity.
And also that kid from Minnesota could have definitely won it if had
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I mean, people going down that early, especially top tier talent. Everything looked like he was rumbling. But
all right, and you know what? To make this more fun, let's predict next year's record. What do you think the Giants are going to be next year? After selecting an O-line for every single pick, I hope after the first pick, they should go O-line to like the 7th round, and then we can draft.
Well, we're going to need one more corner after that.
Then they cut Eli Apple. Yeah, but what can you do? So what do you think next year? Do you think we have a winning record next year?
No, I think it's going to be 2 more years before we necessarily get to a winning record. Optimistic, I'd say 6-10.
Yeah, I think
because the defense is still there, right? We still have a lot of the same pieces that should have made us a very competitive team this year.
I think in this division, and this is just a tough division. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but In that division, I think like it's very hard to just be mediocre. It's not like the Tennessee division,
No.
right? So
Tennessee shouldn't
Right,
even be
exactly.
alive right now for the playoffs.
Right.
But
But it's like you play Philly, even if they don't have anyone, they're going to beat you at home. If you play Washington, it's a tough game. If you play Dallas, it's just these are tough games, no matter where you play. Even if you play at home, like they can beat you. They will beat you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
really quick about Dallas.
yeah.
How much more does it look like Zeke should have been Rookie of the Year last year instead of Dak after the last?
Oh,
month and a half of
absolutely. Are you
football,
kidding
right?
me? Well, I knew honestly. I never bought in personally into the Dak hype. I think Zeke is second or third best player overall in the league, talent wise, after Le'Veon Bell, and then running back wise. I mean, I don't know if there's. I think he's the second best running back. Just that's it. There's nothing else to say. So
But the year Gurley's had, man.
the year Gurley's had, but that's 1 year. You know, we need to
True.
have.
Although he had a pretty solid rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, the Zeke runs with a passion that AP used to run with. That's the way
That's true.
I like. So okay, so I agree with you with the Giants. Let's go into Dallas. Dallas could be the next division team. So Dallas, what do they need? What do you think that? How do they improve going into next year? And do they finally make the playoffs next year? Because now we know they're eliminated.
I think Dak is really going to be what the key is for Dallas over there because, I mean, obviously they let Romo walk
Yep.
based on his rookie year.
Right.
And everything looked great. The O-line, I think, is still signed for another couple of years, so they've got a solid foundation, but the kid definitely took steps back this year. And the time without Zeke really put more pressure on him to produce, and he looked awful. Right? There was
Right.
very little to appreciate about his game. He looked lost, inaccurate, and I just saw a stat, I think it was today. Tyreek Hill has more receptions and yards on fewer targets than Des Bryant and Cole Beasley combined.
That's insane.
That's an insanity considering the fact that Alex Smith can't throw the ball more than 15 yards.
And the fact that Kansas City didn't have a touchdown to wide receiver a year or two ago. You know what I mean? That's just ridiculous.
Oh my God. I think it was Dwayne Bowe at one point caught like...
Yeah, exactly. At the week 17 touchdown.
Oh my God, week
Yeah.
17. Jeez.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
I think Dallas, what they do have is an amazing pass rush. They have a great offense.
Their defense has really been developing.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the defensive line is good. The linebackers, if they stay healthy with Lee, they can put it together. They need a good secondary, and they have the right secondary. They just need to stay healthy. They need to have Zeke play all the games. He should have taken this. Yeah, he should have taken the suspension in the beginning. It would have been easier. I mean, maybe they go 3-3 and it'll be easier to win the rest of the games instead of like taking it in the end when every game, if you don't win it, that's it. You're done. You know.
Yeah.
And the NFC is just tough. I mean, I see Dallas next year at least 10-6, maybe 11-5. So that's the way I see it.
I can see that record, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Washington. What does Washington need? Do the Washington Redskins? And mind you, they're playing the Giants, so I'm going to predict it right now. Washington smashes them, just destroys them because Cousins playing for a contract.
Exactly.
Right. That's what
As far as next year, what Washington needs to do is pray to God that they can offer him a package that's going to keep him there.
agreed.
Right? Because
He deserves it.
he definitely does. You know, a lot of people I know have really gotten the impression that he's a mediocre quarterback. You know, middle rung, but a lot of the games that I've seen him, you know, the kid stands in the pocket,
Takes hits.
takes hits, and I mean, how many games has he started where he didn't have his original offensive line?
right.
One for sure, where all five of them were replacement level players, right? And they were still competitive. They've been competitive in almost every single game that they played, and they
Yep.
played some serious teams as well.
And
Right,
I like Gruden. I like the coach there too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's definitely a talented guy. You know, things definitely shifted after it was Shanahan that he had there for
Yep.
offensive
Mhm.
coordinator, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I think that team still has a lot of future, a lot of prospects if they can keep Cousins. If they can't keep Cousins, then I don't know what kind of a team we're going to be looking at. In terms of quarterback free agents, what do you have? Jay Cutler?
Right. Exactly.
You're gonna get
I-
Romo out of retirement.
I
don't
think
know.
he finally said that he's willing to be a backup. Thank you, Jay Cutler, for announcing that you're willing to be a backup.
I
Thank
thought
you.
he said he wasn't willing.
He
to be a
wasn't willing
backup.
to be a backup. Excuse me. Sorry, he's not there just yet.
As if he should have a choice. you know?
Exactly. Well, listen, Jay Cutler had a great game against New England. Can't hate on that. I wouldn't. I mean, there's some games where I say, listen, put me back there, and I would take sacks better than Jay Cutler. But
I heard him say it.
yeah, but then there's the other games where Jay Cutler just surprises me and just destroys New England. So you never know. This is a crazy league. Philly. Oh yeah. By the way, Washington. I see them as an 8-8. Best 9-7 team next year. I don't see them doing better.
That's if they retain Cousins.
Even if they retain Cousins, it's just a too tough.
No, I'm
of a
saying if
division.
they don't retain Cousins.
No, yeah, they
I
don't
barely see
retain.
them
Yeah,
winning
for sure.
5.
Yeah, exactly. They might win 3 games. Exactly.
Right.
Philly. Do you see them repeating like as the team that they are?
I mean, it's gonna be a while before they get Wentz back, right? Like
Yep.
his injury happened so late. We don't know what the shape of
The
that team is
extent,
going to be
yeah.
to start. So that's also going to be what.
I think they're done. By the way, I don't think they have a
Yeah.
shot in the playoffs.
I completely agree with you. Home field advantage.
Yeah. It
doesn't
only
give
goes
you
so
that
far.
much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's such a significant drop off from Wentz to Foles that you
Right.
might be the same thing as Foles on that field. I'll be honest with you. And that's not to be a knock on you. I promise.
Right.
Because
I broke my hand too.
But that team still has a great offensive line too. I think maybe one of them. I mean, I've heard a lot of people give them a lot of praise, but that's on an expert level. I haven't really
Yeah.
seen on a day-to-day conversation anybody giving any sort of real credit to that offensive line. It's taking a lot of steps forward, considering how well they've been running the ball.
Yep.
With however many different running backs they're using for them. Now, to get Wentz back by week 5, 6, which I think is possible.
Yep.
Then they have a real shot.
At a 10-6 record, I feel like they do. I feel like they have a
Yeah.
good chance at a wild card. I think they have a great defense, and that's what's gonna. I mean,
Yeah,
if they win a
defense is
game,
underrated. I mean,
yeah,
that
absolutely.
front seven is
He's
one of the
amazing.
top in the league.
Yeah, yep, yeah, and they have good corners. And Alshon Jeffrey is finally Alshon Jeffrey. It's not the Jay Cutler
Right.
Alshon.
Peterson seems like a pretty solid coach, to be honest.
Yeah, so a 9-7, 10-6 Philadelphia team. I think they'll take it right now, knowing about that injury, and I feel like a blowout is coming. Like I feel like whoever plays them, and hopefully it's the Carolina Panthers for my sake. If they do play, if they
Tell them what you took.
yeah, I got them at 12-1. Remember, I told you guys to take them at anything above 8. You should do that.
I don't know if anything's above 8 anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But still, listen, if Carolina plays Philly now, then listen, I just don't. I don't see a way. I just don't. see
Good
it.
question is, are you taking Carolina or Atlanta on Sunday?
We're getting there. We're getting there. I still need to think about
we'll
that.
get back to it.
Okay, so Philly versus. We're gonna just do the NFC. I feel like because it's gonna be too long if we do both conferences. And then we'll do the AFC whenever we get a chance. But NFC. So this is a Philadelphia versus Dallas game. In a game where if I was the coach of Philly, I would probably sit Foles just to even have a shot in the playoffs. Because imagine he goes down. Now they're on to 3rd string. I don't even know who that is. We can look it up, but. I don't even know.
Certainly not a better option than Foles if that's who they're starting.
Right. I mean, and then so the line I think is 3 in the favor. Dallas is the favorite. It's Nate Sudfeld. I've never even heard of them.
It sounds familiar, but I really couldn't tell you where he
Right.
ever
So
played.
who are you taking? Dallas -3 against Philly in Philadelphia.
I wouldn't put it past Dallas to throw the game to
just
try and get a better
better
pick anyway.
Right.
That's going to be. I'll take the under. That's who I'm taking.
and I'm sure we're gonna see Sudfeld in this game because there's just no point in risking Foles or
Right.
Alshon Jeffrey or any of
Or
these guys. Ajayi, right?
And Jeffrey had a very
Shaky.
injury-plagued few years
Yeah.
at Chicago. So
Yeah.
the less you expose your top-tier talent, I mean, even with Jacksonville saying, it was Marone saying that he's going to have the starters starting over there. I mean, even if that's not 100% forthcoming,
He said he's playing this game to win the game. For what? You're playing this game for what are you trying to do?
your seeding can't change.
Exactly.
You just want to...
You want to take Tennessee out, the easiest opponent you can have
Exactly.
outside of the Bills
Oh my
and the
God.
Chargers. Like you want to play the Bills or the Chargers that have a chance to win against you when you're playing at home, and you want to put your players on the line in Tennessee. I want one person to comment at this video and say how that makes any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
Nope.
it would be the silliest thing to do to get Bortles hurt, or to forget Bortles hurt, to have like a special teams guy get hurt. I would play like strictly the backups here. Everyone, like the backup linebackers, the backup everyone, the backup D line, or fine, give them the first quarter just to get some burn in their muscle.
Yeah,
That's
I can
it.
see giving them, but maybe that's exactly what he needs. And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people believe, is that they might get sort of
Right.
practice reps in on the field first quarter, and then just bench like a preseason game.
Exactly. But like the other strategy behind this is also something along the lines of, look, if Tennessee has to win this game, they're going to be playing this game as if this is their Super Bowl. So like what this guy's going to be telling them in the locker room is Malarkey or whatever his name is, right? He's going to be telling, this is going to be the speech. Guys, we fight for every inch. We're going to play this as hard as we can. Don't take any plays off. While the Jacksonville coach should say, listen, let's force them to play as hard as they can. Let's try to play as hard as we can, but we're gonna have our second string guys play against them and have them go as hard as we can. So then they come tired into our house next week. That way, playing against our guys that have just been resting for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the logic there, and I think it's just silly. This guy, great coaching there. You're winning some fans.
Marone's the one that opted out of his deal in Buffalo.
Buffalo, right, yeah.
Oh my god! And then he had to take a year off because he couldn't do the job.
I mean, Coughlin must love this guy because they're on the same page with that one. Good job, guys. Now, I honestly hope if he really does play the game, and I hate rooting for injuries, I'm gonna be rooting for
don't
something
do
to
it,
go
don't
wrong
do it.
specifically,
Don't
so
put
later
evil
on
out
they
there.
could get screwed over because of this.
I'm not joining you. In that. Once you put evil out in the world, that comes
No, I
back
don't
to
want
get
this
you
to be a
every time.
long-term injury or anything like that. I just want
just a concussion.
just a non-meaningful concussion that doesn't hurt
Stop
them
it.
in the long run.
Stop
No
it.
PTSD or anything.
I do not endorse this.
Oh god. Anyway, let's do Minnesota. Let's do the North. Minnesota, team that just has plays with heart. I mean, there's nothing
Kidding
else
me?
to say.
Thielen has been absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Just fun to watch, and sort of takes away from Stephon Diggs because he's having a pretty solid year too.
Rudolph.
Yeah, Rudolph.
He's
Always underperformed based on what people claim he can do. Right, he should be a 10, 12 touchdown a season guy because he's such a big red zone target. But I feel like quarterback play also had a really big issue for him. Plus injuries, he hasn't lived up to the hype as far as I'm concerned. Although maybe I'm a little bit jaded because of fantasy football wrongdoings. But they're an exciting team, definitely. Quarterback is again going to be I can't believe how many teams are just so uncertain in quarterback. It didn't really seem like that up until a couple of years ago. It really kind of stresses the importance of the position, but you've got Bradford. I think he's still under contract.
of course.
Bridgewater's still there. I think pretty much on his rookie deal still, I believe. And then you've got Keenum, who has managed to win you game after game, make play after play. And it's definitely an outlier season for him, but...
He's 12-2 as a starter, right?
Yeah, definitely. And...
Or 11-2. I don't know.
Whatever the numbers are.
Yeah, he's a winning quarterback.
Right. Exactly. And, he's earned himself the right to a payday. Question is, what is Minnesota going to do with the two under control quarterbacks that they already have? Bradford, I think, is pretty much at a discount these days because I don't think Philly paid him all that much, but I'd have to double check. So they're probably going to let Keenum walk, I would think, which I don't necessarily fault them for because I'm still not 100% sold on Keenum, right? Because
No one is.
Everybody's
Until he wins a playoff game,
Exactly.
right?
Everybody's waiting for the air to come out of his balloon so that he returns down to earth, right? I don't know.
Two things. I'm going to give them kudos for free agency, like signing Latavius Murray. Where would they be this year
Worked out.
without
Yep.
Latavius Murray? A guy that nobody really wanted. Like, this guy's... Who is he? Like, nobody knows. That Jerick McKinnon as a backup, and, like, he's way more athletic than Latavius Murray, but without Latavius Murray, I don't think they get these wins this year. Like, they had to put it all together. Like, having that depth is something like the Giants, let's say, they don't have that kind of depth.
No.
Because
they don't even have a running back.
Exactly. So they don't have a running back. These guys have 3 running backs.
Yeah.
So it's like, you could look at it like that. And then with Keenum, I feel like the issue is that, like, say that Minnesota goes into halftime down 10-0 in a game against the Rams. Let's say the Rams advance or Atlanta somehow miraculously beats the Rams, and then they play
That's
the
not-
Vikings. But let's just say fine.
Sure.
Fine. Let's just give this is hypothetical.
Loser blood. Do you understand? Atlanta has loser blood.
Okay.
Go on.
So say they're down 10-0. Keenum has thrown for 90 yards and an interception in the first half, and that led to the scores. Now the defense is still playing well, but the quarterback has given it up. Do you think that this guy is going to make a change and send in Bridgewater or Bradford, who's going to be healthy at that point? I think, like personally, I would.
No.
I would.
Absolutely not. I don't see the logic behind that move. You got Bridgewater, who just played his first NFL snap in 2 years, pretty much.
Right.
And you've got Bradford, who didn't look that great the last
No.
time he just came back from injury.
Yep.
Right? He looked like he was too afraid to get touched by a single player, and he didn't make it through that game.
Now you lose that game, 24-0. You don't score anything. They give you all this spiel about, you should have taken them out. There's no win there. You can't. That's the problem with like having three quarterbacks. The problem with that is that the public is going to say, well, listen, you were down to nothing. You had that choice. Why don't you put in Bridgewater that you were so high on?
It's just not a regular season game. First of all, Bridgewater, if you're losing that game, depends on when, right? If there's a time where
Yeah.
24-0 to lose that way, at what point do you make the switch?
Yeah.
How are they getting to 24-0? Did Keenum just throw his second pick six?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Is
Yeah.
there a fumble returned?
Yeah.
It's tough to say. But if there's an instance where it looks like a quarterback change is necessary, I still don't know if I make it, if I'm that head coach. Because, well, Keenum did get you to where you are, and there's something to be said for going down with the ship.
Yeah.
And I would respect that decision 100%, not making the change. Making the change, how do you pick which one goes in? How many drives do you give one before you pull that one and then put in the next one?
Yeah, then
right?
it just becomes like a free-for-all.
Yeah, I feel like even if all you care about is getting flack for it the next day, I feel like it's easier to justify just keeping in Keenum and taking the out than starting the carousel up.
All these teams, so now all these teams are gonna, like, they're offensive teams. So, like, is Minnesota strictly a defensive threat in the playoffs now? Or do you, like, let the offense fly?
I think
You don't
especially
change
in the
anything.
playoffs. So I don't know how much people really expected out of Minnesota until they really started getting on a roll
Yeah.
with Keenum.
Now they have a bye.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't think anybody would have
No.
pegged them. I mean, considering
They play
Green
with
Bay was
heart.
coming in,
Yeah.
the Giants on
Yeah.
paper looked amazing to start the
Yeah.
year, which is
Sad.
still
No
something I'm lamenting. But Minnesota's been hanging there with every offensive team that they've played so far. Because as vaunted as that defense has become, they're not keeping people off the scoreboard, right? Minnesota does still give up points. They've faced some good offenses, and they're going to continue to face good offenses, especially in the playoffs. So their own offense has kept them in games. Keenum and Thielen have had a great thing going. As you said before, Murray, McKinnon have managed to keep things going after the Cook went down. And you've still got Diggs and Rudolph who contribute.
Okay, we spent a lot of time in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Let's go on to Detroit. Detroit, the Lions. I personally think, let me just give you my Lions. I hate the Lions. I can't stand the Lions. Why? Because they're the new Jeff Fisher team. The 8-8 standard of the NFL. I want Calvin Johnson back. Can somebody bring Calvin Johnson back, please?
He's never coming back.
I need him to come back because
Never.
that's just entertainment, man. But
He's so good.
he is so good. He would get triple covered, and the play would be Hail Mary to Calvin Johnson and have him make a miraculous catch over three people, and you know what? He would do it most of the time.
Like a 26-foot wingspan.
Exactly. He'd go like this, Have you ever seen this? And he could cover.
And he had speed.
Yeah, he could cover like 2 parking spots or something.
Yeah.
He's amazing. That guy was great, And now what do they have? Golden Tate.
Listen, no, I'm not going to take away from Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. They've both been pretty solid. They're not, to me, number one receivers. No, Marvin Jones Jr., you can't. The kid has moves.
Right.
He's got speed. He's got good hands, good body control. He's made some fantastic plays this year, and he scores.
Oh, the other thing is, we were just talking about somebody, I don't remember who or where, but I brought up the fact, who is Allen Robinson, most like in the NFL. Like, I was just saying how the Jaguars would be so much better had Allen Robinson played for them this year, because he's always open. Now, one of the people that I was talking to was saying that he's most like Marvin Jones. And I was just like, Marvin Jones. That's a terrible comparison. I
So
don't.
there's 6 inch difference between them. They play completely differently.
Nah, it has a 2-inch difference, but still.
Maybe it seems that way.
Yeah,
I guess, I don't
exactly.
know. Marvin Jones doesn't seem like. all
But
that big of a
still, I
player.
mean, I wouldn't compare Allen Robinson to Marvin Jones. I think Marvin Jones is just like a completely different tier of wide receiver. I was gonna compare them. If I was gonna compare them to anybody, it was just like a big wide receiver that's always open. You know, that's Allen Robinson, right?
Yeah.
That's if I had to pick somebody, like I would pick him. Like I would put him and Des Bryant currently in the same category, personally.
That's fair. I would think he's got more upside than Dez at this point in his career too.
See,
I mean,
and like Marvin Jones, I can't say bad things, but no.
but yeah, back to the Lions.
Yeah.
They're perennial disappointment in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the games that they've lost.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they managed to, and it just seems that one thing or another in every game just breaks down for them. The running back game is awful for them.
Right.
You know, Riddick is their best running back. They don't want to
Yeah.
give Abdullah the ball,
Ever.
and he's got fumbling issues on top of it anyway.
Yeah. He's had like one attempt on a third down since like in like a year.
Yeah.
How do you win a game? How do you win if you don't hand the ball off on 3rd and 1 to your number one running back? How do you win?
Yeah.
If you're throwing on 3rd and 1 to Ebron, who has like, this is how he tries to catch the ball. This is, he's trying to put it together, you know.
I mean,
got
no,
some-
he's finally taking a step
I
forward.
know,
this
I
year.
know.
He's finally, just 3-4 years apparently is the learning curve for certain players.
Yeah,
at this
to
point.
catch one touchdown. Congratulations.
Playing since you're a kid isn't enough these days.
Right. Let's talk about Chicago. I actually like Chicago. What do you think?
They have a lot more wins than I give them credit
Yeah.
for. And
They're at 5 right away, by the way.
yeah, but it seems like more.
Yeah, it does.
Realistically, considering the way that they've been playing, they've also been able to stick around in games. You know, some games they've just gotten blown out. Some games they've blown other teams out. Jordan Howard, to me, is somehow like, it always looks like he's running through molasses, but the guy can just
Right.
plow through tackles and doesn't have real great long speed, but can get chunk plays. He's had some very solid runs this season, and he's been very productive. Tariq Cohen's an interesting kid.
I think they have a lot more upside for next year. I feel
Yeah.
like with John Fox there, having him as the foundation for that team, and having Trubinsky there, Trubinsky's better than I expected. Get a couple of wide receivers for this kid. Like, give him some help. Get him a good O-line. And their D looks good. So, I mean, like, if they can... I think they're a better team than Detroit next year. Next year, not just like 2 years from now. Next year. I think that they can take that big step forward and get to an 8-8 record, and that would be huge for them.
The problem is they're still in there with Minnesota
And Green Bay,
Green Bay.
who we haven't spoke about yet.
Oof.
And Minnesota plays Chicago. I think this game is a blowout. What do you think? I think the line is like 13.
I don't know if it's a blowout. I'll be honest with you, because Minnesota's not playing for anything either.
No, I think they get a second. But Chicago kind of wants to lose this game to get a lower pick. They have that in their head.
Well,
But-
I mean, there are plenty of teams that want to lose games for better picks, but how do you
Yeah, how do you? Yeah,
how do you manage to lose
I don't
a
think
game
John
on
Fox
purpose?
would want that. I feel like
Only
he wants.
Cleveland is the best. Like, Cleveland's the only team I know that knows how to lose games.
Yeah, but even then, they still could win this game and still get the first overall pick. But they're not gonna win
Cleveland's
this
locked
game.
in. Cleveland's locked in.
Yeah.
But I mean, they definitely don't want to finish the season winless.
Yeah. What about Green Bay with Rodgers coming back and those
Next
old
year at
wide
this
receivers?
point.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I think Jordy's the only one who's got like significant age concerns. But even then, like on the field, he looks like he's all there still.
Yep.
Right?
They can't get him the
Still
ball.
move. They can't get him the ball. I mean, Hundley has flashed some skill, but he's not a long-term
No.
solution. Like without Rodgers, that team is not the same.
Agreed.
I think you could say that like wherever Rodgers goes, he would be the best player on the team.
Yep.
But they still have like
They have
as
Devonta
long as
Adams.
yeah,
they have Cobb.
they have Cobb,
they
Janice, who they don't really use.
They have Richard Rodgers. I mean, they're actually they need a big tight end. Like they had Martellus Bennett, who's making plays for them last year. You remember? Like he would make that. He made that.
No. Bennett was on New England last year.
No,
Pretty sure they had Jared Cook last year.
Jared Cook. See, I messed that up. You're right. He got me. You see, this is good to have him here because my other vlog they don't know as much. I'm just kidding, guys. Yeah, it was Jared Cook. So Jared Cook making those. That's what I mean. Like they lost him as a tight end. Him going to Oakland, it was like a big deal. So they need like those. He needs a big target. But like I don't see anybody telling me they're not going 12-4, 11-5 next year.
Yeah, Rodgers being healthy, they're fighting for a first round bye every season. I think.
Yeah, and Minnesota goes down to like a 10-6 record, 9-7 record, and Green Bay fighting for the number one NFC championship seed. Not changing that team much because they still have Clay Matthews. They still have a good D line. I mean, they could get better at corners, and they're gonna finally get some higher picks. They could put it together, get him, and now Aaron Jones emerging.
Yeah.
And
Jamal Williams.
Williams can run.
Ty Montgomery's still there.
Yeah, and he can be a wide receiver finally.
There are a lot of different pieces there that can all be very productive with Rodgers throwing them the ball. It's just coming down to his health at this point.
Exactly, and then is he going to ever be able to get back to the old Aaron Rodgers that we remember and love? Anyway, let's go to my favorite division in the NFL, the South, and let's start off with the biggest disappointment of the NFL. I think you'll agree with me here, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Jameis Winston, Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, the running back Martin, Doug Martin.
Doug Martin's gone.
It has to be.
He's been so unproductive this season, and it's not strictly because of the O-line. He's just not the same runner he was a few years ago, and I guess, PED suspension, that might have been what did it to begin with. But he did make the runs as well, so who knows. But I don't know, Tampa's a really funny team because they, like the Giants on paper, had some solid defensive players, had a lot of exciting offense coming.
Yeah, Howard, Lavonte Davis. Yeah.
Right.
Lavonte David.
Right.
Yeah.
And just weird loss after weird loss. What really screwed him up, I think, might have been that Week 1 game with Miami getting postponed.
Really? That could be it.
I don't know what else it could be because they just seem so out of sync all season.
I don't understand the other thing. Is like Mike Evans used to get so many more targets than he's getting, and like I don't understand Mike Evans at all. Like he is open on a lot of plays, yet he's pushing off. Like his whole thing is, I'm gonna get to a point, I'm not gonna make a move, I'm gonna push off and then be completely wide open. So now they're calling him for offensive pass interference because they know he does that. It's like I remember when there was a player on the Knicks called Eddie Curry, right? And he would do the same thing all the time. He'd grab the ball, he'd do a post move, and then he would do like this whole brush around off of a person's back and push him out of the way and dunk, right? And then like they kept calling him, and Melo used to do the same thing when he would go up the baseline, he would kind of push off, and like they kept calling him for that.
So Eddie Curry had 100 pounds on Melo, so it was a lot easier to see.
Exactly, right. So it's like they're looking for it. Why are you still pushing off? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're big. You're a great player. What are you doing? And I don't know. I don't know. I don't like Tampa Bay just simply because they have a talented team, but they'll never be able to put it together because they just don't. Like Jameis Winston's running out onto the field, throwing his helmet, yelling at people. Why? Does it matter? You're 4'11". Like, put it in. Practice. Go in and practice every day. Prove it by practice.
Athletes just don't want to hear about practice.
Is that practice? Practice. Talking about practice. So Tampa Bay Bucks, they're done. Let's talk about the Falcons.
They're done this year, but again, they have the same pieces coming back next year.
So you like them next year?
I don't necessarily like them next year, but I think we got to give them a fresh look.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you think that there's potential there to be a winning team?
There's definitely still potential there, 100%.
I hope. I like Jameis Winston. I just think he's got to get his head straight, and that's the number one thing there. It's like DeMarcus Cousins. Like he's a great player. Put him together, get him in the right system. This guy's the winner, and so is Jameis Winston. But he doesn't. He needs that motivation. He's just not getting it in Tampa Bay. Atlanta, loser blood.
Loser blood.
Does Tony Gonzalez need to come back for them to win? Win one for Tony!
Oh, I used to love Tony Gonzalez.
Me too.
Classic.
Yeah, one of my favorite players. I had like a tear-jerk emotion when he was like, "I'm leaving." I'm like, "Nah, don't do it to me, Tony. I'm
because when he retired, he looked like he could play another 5 years. My man was shredded.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he wasn't as fast anymore. He could
barely
run
anymore. He could still dunk it after a touchdown.
Exactly.
Love Tony.
And now he can actually celebrate that way.
Exactly.
Terrible. At least the NFL is making slow progress.
Exactly. Atlanta.
I hate Atlanta.
That's it? That's all you got to say?
No, I have plenty more to say.
Yes, please.
You can't rely on Matt Ryan. The man has no ability to come through. Zero. I don't care how many games he won in order to get to the Super Bowl. He proves time and time again that he is not the person to take them to a championship. And, might prove me wrong and go and win the Super Bowl this year. I don't see it happening. If you want to put a bet on it, we can talk about it after we're done recording. But there's just not enough there. Their defense has gotten a lot better. Their offense looks like it's falling apart. The fact that you still can't get Julio Jones the ball consistently.
He's
It's
by far
befuddling.
the biggest threat. Like Antonio Brown is the best receiver. I don't doubt that, but Julio Jones is like the most talented player in the NFL. Like just skills wise, he's just insane. He's just like a freak of
Beast.
nature.
Yeah. Probably some of the best raw physical ability. in the
Exactly.
league.
He could probably play in the NBA if he wanted to, just because he's just so good and he's so talented and just a great player.
Which you should probably consider. I mean, those contracts are really guaranteed.
Exactly.
They're
He can play
bigger.
both leagues.
He'd make more money than Mike Conley, I'll tell you that much. Oh.
Mike Conley, leading scorer for the Memphis Grizzlies, by the way.
Yeah, we just found that out.
Anyway,
Yesterday, though, right?
yeah, it was yesterday. Anyway, the Falcons are the easiest team to be a fan of in the NFL because it's just a great style of play. Like, let's toss it around, let's run for a lot of yards. We have two great running backs. We have these three defensive great players. Like, we got Vic Beasley, who's had the most sacks last year. We have this Jones guy from LSU, who's this great great linebacker. But I think what it comes down to is, again, it's consistency. Like, they can
consistently lose
Exactly.
important games. That's
exactly. Like, how can you, like, it's about coaching. It's about getting them in the mindset of New England. There's no person today that can prove to me that New England has more talent on their team than Atlanta. They don't, but they consistently will beat Atlanta 10 out of 10 games in the meaningful situation on a field that's neutral. So that just baffles me. And that's the thing about the NFL.
Gronk.
Gronk versus Julio Jones.
I'll take Gronk every time.
No.
Every time.
Julio Jones can play defense too. He comes on and like Hail Mary plays.
I'm sure Gronk could as well.
Yeah.
Gronk's like 260 pounds.
Shout out to Keenan Allen for getting an interception on a defensive play last week.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Carolina Panthers, my pick for the Super Bowl. I'm agreeing with Mr. Jones now because I had to bet him. 12 to 1. Yeah.
I like them a lot. Cam has always been a fun player for me to watch.
Yeah.
I root for the guy every time, even when he's had his missteps in the media. You know, that defense is fantastic.
Yeah.
They never should have cut Josh Norman. I don't know what the hell they were thinking there, because that would have changed their whole last couple of years.
They were trying to do the same thing. They were trying to predict the future with like Darrelle Revis. You know, like the Giants are so good.
No, because
the
just
Jets.
paid him.
I know.
He said he popped off about something, I don't remember, and then they cut him because of it, which stunned me, because how can you have a zero tolerance policy for your players saying something they necessarily shouldn't? Like, obviously there are lines that once you cross them, you're a toxic asset, but I don't even remember what it was, but if it was something that bad, it would not fade from my memory, right? All I can remember is the Panthers just paid one of the top corners in the league and cut him before the season even started. Cut him even. They didn't even try to get anything for the guy. Like, that's probably going to be their biggest mistake for the next 15 years, I would think. But as far as the team in terms of how competitive it is moving
They
forward,
can beat anybody in the NFC.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, they could probably hang with Pittsburgh or New England as well. They wouldn't just be automatic wins, right?
Right.
They have that chance, probably, I'd say 70-30.
The other thing that I would like, if you had to pick a team today to play against New England or Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl, just for competitive sake, who would you pick? Either
Across?
Yeah.
Across the divisions?
No, not across the division. So like obviously Pittsburgh and New England are the best teams in the AFC. So in the NFC, who would you pick against them, knowing the teams that are going to make the playoffs this year? I would say Seattle, right? If you had to pick a team,
Not with its current
state, right? Carolina, right?
Yeah, Carolina.
Or maybe the Rams, even like the Rams if they have a great game.
The Rams are such an interesting team.
Yeah.
Really, such an interesting team.
Let's discuss the Saints first. What about the Saints? Do they have a shot?
Yeah, I think the Saints have one of the better shots in. The
Oh, really?
NFC.
So you maybe matched the Saints up with them with Drew Brees and Kamara and
Yeah.
okay.
Because they also have a lot of dynamic talent there. Michael Thomas hasn't had as big of a year as I was expecting from him, and Willie Snead might as well have not come back this year. It's been absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Brandon Coleman never developed into any sort of special
No.
talent. And Fleener's been a complete bust pretty much.
Everywhere.
So, yeah, but what they've been able to do off of pretty much Drew Brees, Kamara, Ingram, and Thomas has been fantastic, right?
Why they let Jimmy Graham go? It's also confusing to
Well,
me.
they didn't let him go. They traded for Max Unger. That's why they can run the ball now.
Oh, because of the offensive line.
Right. Why the hell Seattle traded Unger for Jimmy Graham, I still don't understand. Because they have barely utilized him for...
Right. They throw to
Since they
him
traded
only
him.
in like the goal line situations. It doesn't make sense. And like he'll get his first target in like the fourth quarter, which doesn't make sense.
And maybe he had a little bit of drop off, but
Yeah.
he did have that Achilles injury. But even before that, they never really got him going.
He
Like,
can
he's more
box out
productive.
and just like make a catch like this.
Well, of course.
Yeah, that's
He
what
was
that's
power
his-
forward.
Yeah.
But he used to be able to catch 8 to 10 balls in a game for
Yeah,
Drew Brees.
exactly.
And there's not that much drop off, in my opinion. That might be a little bit crazy for sayings, but from Drew Brees to Russell Wilson, I think they're very close in terms
Agreed.
of not just stature, but ability as a quarterback.
Now,
Wilson's
Russell
made some
Wilson-
fantastic plays.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's coming on, right?
But they didn't utilize Jimmy Graham anywhere close to how I expected them to. So I will never understand that trade. But not New England,
They're the Saints.
New Orleans is not only interesting because of the offense, but their defense has really come along
Yeah.
from where it was over the last few years. The last few years, New Orleans Saints was a joke of a defense.
Yep, that was their Achilles heel.
They couldn't cover anybody on the ground, through the air. They probably gave up 350 yards a game, if I'm just guessing.
Right.
Well, I am just guessing, but
Right.
that's where I would ballpark it. So, I think they're one of the better teams in the NFC for at least a couple more years. I'm not sure how
That's
much longer
fair.
Breeze will play, but
The Saints, they're the biggest question mark, I believe. I don't know what to say. I'm afraid that they might lay a dud in their first game. Like they come out and they get a home game and then they just lose, and then everyone congratulates them on the great year, and then that's it. That's all they got. That's just what I'm afraid of, and I don't know. Drew Brees is so good. He's going to be in every single game, but if there's pressure, I'm afraid that he might just collapse. I don't know. I don't believe in them for some reason. I'm not big on the Saints. I wasn't big on them. I wasn't high on them the whole year, and I'm just not. I don't know what it is. I can't even pinpoint it. They're a good team like in every facet of the game, and they're smart. Like Peyton is a very smart coach. Like he might be my favorite coach in the NFL, but I just don't. I don't know. I just don't feel them this year. Let's move on to the Rams. Oh wait, before we go on to the Rams, the most important game of the week, I would say, is Atlanta versus the Saints. No one would argue that. Like, who do you like? Do you
Atlanta
think?
plays Carolina.
I'm sorry, Atlanta plays Carolina. Excuse me, that was my fault. So like Atlanta plays Carolina. So who most important game of the week? I would say. Who do you
Yeah.
like? -4 is the spread currently. Might go down to 3.5, 3. I don't know.
I mean, we almost took Atlanta -4.
Yeah.
Every time you get me to take Atlanta, I'm upset about it because we haven't hit fucking one of these yet. Terrible, god awful team.
Right.
I believe they could win.
I like it.
I
You see?
think
loser blood, schmoover blood.
they're not
He's
covering
taking
4.
over.
They're not covering 4. I'll tell you that much right now. But they should be able to pull off the win.
So he's doing like a wise guy pick, like, oh, Atlanta is gonna win the game but not cover the 4. They might win by a point or two on like a last second Matt Bryant field goal or something, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's predicting. Look at this guy. He knows the future. So you know who to call if that happens. No, I like Atlanta, man. And I like him big just because Carolina's not gonna care to win. Unless the Saints start losing for some reason.
I think Carolina does care to win, though.
For what?
Why would they want Atlanta in? It's a division rival. Why would they want to see a division rival in the playoffs?
Because the only time they could possibly face Atlanta is in the NFC Championship, and that game would be at home. So they'd be hoping for that. So the other option
know they're
outside of
gonna beat
Atlanta,
them
you're right.
there.
You're right. And the other option outside of Atlanta is Seattle, and I would pick Atlanta over Seattle if you had to poll any team in the playoffs
I
right
would
now.
rather play Atlanta than Seattle in the
course.
playoffs, for sure. Because, I mean, Atlanta just gives away games.
Exactly,
Even
right.
when they're winning.
Yes, and Russell
By
Wilson can
25
make it
points.
happen. Matt Ryan cannot make it happen.
Right.
Matt Ryan needs to have a good game throughout in order for them to have a shot. However, Russell Wilson could be down by 3 touchdowns and they're not out of it. They're not out of it.
No.
It's just simple. He can get the ball to Doug Baldwin for an 80-yard touchdown, onside kick, recover. Atlanta's never going to recover an onside kick. Never. There's some teams that have it and some teams that don't.
Yeah.
LA Rams. What do you think? Frauds?
I think we got to give them another year before we can call them frauds because they've just been firing on all cylinders all season. Right? I think they opened the season with a loss
Mm-hmm.
to the 49ers, maybe, if I'm remembering that correctly.
That would be if you remember that right.
Oh, no, the 49ers were winless until
No,
2 weeks ago.
They opened the regular season with a blowout win of Indianapolis.
And
then they lost the next week to Washington.
Washington, okay.
And then followed it up by a 41-39 win over San Francisco, like in the last second.
Yeah, so I messed up my
That's
memory
okay.
of the early
That's okay.
part of the season, but I'd like to believe, honestly,
Right.
because Goff has actually looked good. Right, I don't want to take much away from him. Gurley is the player who everybody thought he was. Last
Yep.
year seems to be as if though it was just a down year, not what his baseline is going to be, which I'm very happy about because that kid is so fun to watch run. But just the other day, this past Sunday, I saw him hurdle a player, and a not player that was trying to tackle him at the knees, somebody that was chest level, hurdles the guy and then gets a 12-yard pickup after the 7 he already ran after the hurdle. So I mean that talent is next level.
Aaron Donald, the potential MVP.
Yeah. Oh, he's a force to be reckoned with.
And there's other players. There's like that D-line is stacked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like...
So there's a very strong foundation there.
Mhm.
If they get a couple, like Sammy Watkins, I think at this point everybody can just write off as a bust. He's had some
like Sammy
some
Watkins,
productive seasons, but
Yeah. I draft
kids-
him every year. And that's why I lose.
the kid's not going to be the one who I feel Cooper Kupp's had a better season.
Yeah,
than
Cooper
him.
Kupp is,
You know?
is real.
And you can't tell me that it's because he moved to a new team.
Like, I wouldn't be
That's
surprised if
absolute
Cooper
nonsense.
Kupp comes out with like an 80 reception, 1,200-yard season next year.
Yeah.
8 touchdowns. Could happen.
So you throw
Robert
in
Woods.
Robert Woods, exactly, right?
Yeah.
They both had more productive seasons than Sammy Watkins, and to me, neither of them is a number one receiver either.
No.
I think they're both
Mm-hmm.
very strong looking number twos. So if they pick up either a difference making tight end or a solid number one receiver, then I think they might.
That
be
offense
what-
might be the best, right?
Yeah, although NFC West looks poised to be one of the better divisions next year forward,
Agreed.
which I think should take us to San Francisco.
Exactly. I knew you were going to say that.
Well, some things are easy to predict.
Right. Jimmy G.
Yeah, I mean, kid looks good.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like much of an aberration. The win against Tennessee, which crushed a couple of our dreams,
Right.
that was a legit win.
Cleveland trading him away. New England trading him away for nothing.
Well, they couldn't get anything for him.
Right. But that is like the gift of gifts.
Yeah.
And not sending him to Cleveland, that's what I meant to say, is just like, that's just, I love the Cleveland Browns franchise. Cleveland Browns should start their own Division 2 of football. Like, they should do, like, they should come out, they should be relegation, like the EPL has relegation.
See, that's what the CFL looks to me to be a good thing to incorporate,
Yeah.
right? Relegation league,
Yeah.
open it up a little bit. I don't mind sending the Cleveland Browns to
You know who
the
does mind? The owner of the Cleveland Browns had to lose, like, half of probably 50% of the value of the franchise.
Yeah,
So,
easily.
all right. We got the iPad here acting up a little. We got like 10% left. So let's run through these Seattle Seahawks.
We didn't even talk about San Francisco.
We didn't talk about San
If they
Francisco.
sign Garoppolo,
Yeah. They could be a winner.
I think they could get to 9-7 in one season easy.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Seattle. Let's talk about Seattle quick. Russell Wilson, I really feel bad for them because Richard Sherman and Chancellor getting hurt is just knocks the wind out of you. You can't. That's your
That's
your backbone.
They're not going to be able to win.
Yeah.
But I mean, considering they still can't even get a running game going, like
Yeah.
Chris Carson looked like he was going to be able to be
Yeah.
a solid player. And
This
I
Davis
lost-
kid looks good.
Yeah, he does. But also, like, they're still not all there. It seems like it's just not Seattle's year. I hope Richard Sherman can come back from his injury because as much as I've been irritated by how much he's destroyed my fantasy football receiver's ability to be productive throughout the year, that guy is all heart and a ton of talent. So, all the best to him and Chancellor.
Yeah, I mean Seattle. I don't think that like anyone will knock me if I say that they win every game at home next year. Like they could totally come out and win 8 straight at home, and they can like win 4 out of 8 on the road and have a 12-4 record. Like that's doable. That's what the Seattle Seahawks are about. Like the 12th man, and losing games at home is just not them. And that's the problem. That's
Don't get me wrong. I don't mind. I
Yeah.
don't ever want to see Seattle win.
Neither do I. I don't like Seattle, but I can't.
respect them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
respect them too. Like this kid out of Wisconsin that's 5'11", that's making that I never thought would even make it in the NFL. Now is like one of the best quarterbacks. It's just that it's obvious he's a top 10 quarterback, maybe top 5. I don't want to say top 5, but top 10 for sure.
Yeah, top 10 easily.
Yeah. So with Pete Carroll, who I hate, I can't stand him. But listen, I can't knock him. I'm not a hater. You know, he wins. These guys are winners, so I can't hate him. Who do we have left in that division? I think we have the Arizona Cardinals. Oh, my favorite
The Cardinals might not win more than 4 games next season.
Yeah, exactly.
Easily,
Yeah.
because
They're not getting AP.
they
back.
don't have all of their best players are in decline besides David Johnson. If you ask
Yeah,
me, Like,
exactly.
Larry Fitzgerald should be in the Hall of Fame 3 seconds after he retires.
Exactly. He will be though.
He better be. I mean, isn't there like a 5-year wait
Yeah,
time?
there's a 5-year.
Nonsense. They should waive it for him because he's that much of a talent.
Ah.
But even if you get Carson Palmer back, that guy's been declining for the last 3 years, right? I thought it was a joke when I first read it, but they were talking about extending Gabbert after 2 games that
Blame Gabbert,
barely
my
passes
boy.
the quarterback play. Yeah.
How do you lose a game? You ask Blaine Gabbert.
And Stanton's clearly not the answer. So
He hasn't been the
quarterback
answer for, like, 5 years.
issues, right? Offensive line was never really fully there.
Yeah,
either.
Patrick Peterson. I mean, he's good.
And they have Tyrann Mathieu too, but
Yeah. Nah.
it's not enough.
What else
They
can you
got
say?
Frosty Rucker.
Frosty Rucker.
Frosty Rucker.
Now I gave him a question of one of the funniest names in the NFL, and they couldn't think of Frosty. That's my boy.
I'm supposed to remember Frosty Rucker.
That's a cool name though. If I honestly,
solid.
Frosty, that's a great
Pretty
name
solid.
for a kid.
Come on. Haha Clinton Dix, best football name. Not even a competition.
I came up with Earth, Wind, and Fire the other day. Earth, Wind, and Fire something.
Oh, yeah. What was that? I loved having them. Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw, and Derek Ward.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. The last time the Giants had any semblance of a running back.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we can give our football predictions for the Super Bowl, and I'm just gonna go with New England versus Carolina.
Yeah.
And who do you like?
Same ones. I'll be honest with you.
Like it. Well, this is part 2 of our first vlog. Hope you enjoyed the crypto. Hope you enjoyed a little of the football. We're going to switch it up with some new topics, anything that's on our mind next time we do it. Hopefully we'll do it weekly. We would love to hear some comments, some feedback. Please click the thumbs up button, like it, subscribe. We enjoy doing this. Hopefully we'll do it again, and hopefully you guys can enjoy. Thank you so much. Happy holidays.